Hello everybody and welcome to Notorious Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm Notorious Kai and today is a joyous day. We have confirmed Resonator Red Dragon Archfiend support for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. It feels good. That's right everybody, feels good is definitely the mood of the day. Spoiler alert, I saw these leaks a few moments after they went live last night. I really wanted to jump online and make a video for them, but I decided to wait till today, so hopefully we could get the rarity confirmation, and I needed to go to sleep because I don't do that enough. But anyway, today's video is going to be a little different than most people's box reaction probably. A lot of people are going to be going over the whole box. I don't think that's what most of you are here for, and to be particularly honest with you, that's not really what I want to talk about right now. Because my favorite archetype is getting support, and it's some pretty good support. So we're just going to talk about the Resonator Red Dragon Archfiend support, and then maybe a few other cards that I find particularly interesting. So let's not waste any time. Let's start with the one, the only, Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. I can't believe it's finally here. This is a card I've been asking for a while, and I think its power level is acceptable for Duel Links. I think it is still a very good card, but I still think its power level is in line with where Duel Links is at. And Scarlet, while being a generic level 8 synchro, is exceptionally good in Resonator Red Dragon Archfiend builds. I hate referring to it as Resonator Red Dragon Archfiend. I'm just going to keep calling it Resonators because that's what it is in my heart. You refer to it how you like to refer to it. But Scarlet is particularly good in Resonator builds because it becomes Red Dragon Archfiend while it is on the field or in the graveyard. This makes Red Nova Dragon more worthwhile to play because your bridge into Red Nova Dragon is a card that now does something really good and really impactful and is a generically good card on its own. You don't need to run the vanilla Red Dragon Archfiend anymore. You can run Scarlet, Synchro Summon in Scarlet, it becomes Red Dragon Archfiend while it's on the field, and then you've got your Red Dragon Archfiend to climb into Nova. It's fantastic. It's even better when you consider that you can get Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend on the field, use its effect, destroy some stuff, clear the path, then Synchro Climb into Red Nova Dragon, and then punch your opponent in the face with like a 5,000 attack Red Nova Dragon. That's way better too. Way better than just bridging into RDA and not really do anything at that step other than trying to hurry up and Synchro Climb. And for those of you wondering, wouldn't Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend's effect just destroy the resonators that you're leaving on field to climb into Red Nova Dragon? And under normal circumstances, yes, it would. But with Roaring Soul Resonators, you can protect your Resonator monsters from being destroyed that turn. Your skill will protect the Resonators on field, so you only destroy stuff on your opponent's field. Provided that it meets the other conditions for the board wipe. Don't worry, we'll read the effect and go over it a little bit. I just got really excited and figured I'd just gush about Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend really quick. So this card is going to be featured in a lot of extra decks just because it's really good and it's generic, but it's a level 8 Dark Dragon Synchro and we make those the best, and it has significantly more use for us than everybody else. So I think we should probably read its effect now. Effects now. That way we're all familiar with them and I can expand or share any other thoughts I have on them. This card's name becomes Red Dragon Archfiend while it is on the field or in the graveyard. Aces. Once per turn, you can destroy as many special summon effect monsters on the field as possible with the tech less than or equal to this card's. Other than this card, which means you don't destroy Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend when you use its effect. It's only the other cards it's trying to destroy on the field. Then, inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed. That 500 damage, I believe, is the full burn amount. I wonder if that's going to get nerfed, or if they're really going to let this thing threaten an OTK every time it hits the field. I wouldn't be surprised to see it halved, just to keep tradition, but if they really wanted to make things hostile in Duel Links, they could leave it at 500. That means you would only have to destroy 2 special summon effect monsters with less attack than 3,000 to OTK. Destroy the 2, burn for 1,000, punch for 3k, and then that's GG's, everybody. So there's probably a Scarlet OTK line. I think I had one puzzled out last night as I was trying to fall asleep, but I went to sleep and forgot it. So I'll have to work on the specifics of that and debut that in a video for all of you. You're probably going to be getting a lot of Resonator Red Dragon Archfiend content coming lately. I know that's a majority of what I do already, but it's going to be to the umpteenth degree now. That's Scarlet, Red Dragon Archfiend. You are in a mini box. Couldn't be happier. Could not be happier. I think the only thing that makes me feel a little unhappy about seeing Scarlet here is that it's generic, so everybody else is going to be able to use it. And then it kind of power creeps the next card that I wanted to talk about. Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend power creeps Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend almost immediately. They serve similar functions as big board wipey monsters. The nuance of their board wipe is a little different, but Scarlet is just better because it's more accessible, it's generic, and it requires less resources to get into. Plus, it has more uses. You can climb out of Scarlet into Red Nova Dragon. You can climb out of Scarlet into Tyrant. You can climb out of Scarlet into Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane. So there's more stuff you can do with Scarlet than you can Tyrant. So I still love Tyrant. Tyrant is my favorite artwork of all the Red Dragon Archfiends. It looks great. The orange kind of like background to it really highlights the reds. It just looks great. And it looks incredible in a foil printing for the TCG. I have a playset of this, even though sometimes I don't even play it in my extra deck. That's how much I love the card. So let's talk about Tyrant really quick. Tyrant requires 2 tuners plus 1 or more non-tuners. So it is technically generic, although not a lot of decks can put 2 tuners on board to make it. And must be synchro summoned, cannot be special summoned by other ways. You can only use each of these effects of Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend once per turn. So the first effect that you can only use once per turn is during your main phase 1. We only have a main phase 1 in Duel Links. You can destroy all other cards on the field. Also, for the rest of the turn, other monsters you control cannot attack. So you can board wipe everything. Your monsters, your opponent's spells and traps, your spells and traps. You can just nuke it all. Just get rid of it. There can be only one king. It is Tyrant. He rules with an iron fist. He will not stand for anybody else to be on his field. So that's an incredible effect until you start thinking a little bit about it. In order to board wipe everything, you will need to have accumulated enough resources on board to have 2 tuners plus 1 non-tuner monster whose level is equals 10. Then you got to synchro summon into Tyrant. And then Tyrant is an ignition effect. It's not a quick effect. So to board wipe everything, you have to like go through a whole bunch of steps and a whole bunch of opportunities for your opponent to interact with you to even get the attempt to use the board wipe. Even if they let you climb into Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend, as soon as your opponent like stops for like 5 seconds and reads Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend, they're gonna go, oh yeah, I need to respond to this now. Anyways, Chain Compulse response, or Chain Bookamoon response, you know. So that's the main problem with Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend. 1, it requires a decent amount of resources to get into, and then 2, once you finally get there, your opponent's going to read this card and realize that I need to do something now or else I'm doomed. So they're going to do something, and Tyrant will almost never get its effect off. It's really good in, I guess, simplified game states, just because there's not a lot of interaction your opponent has left at that point. So the constant threat of nuking their board and smashing them for 3,500 attack is devastating. But if you're getting to a simplified game state, odds are you probably don't have the resources to make Tyrant, or the resources you have available to you to make Tyrant can probably use to OTK your opponent, so you really won't need to make it. It saddens me to see that Tyrant is a little power crept already just by the release of Scarlet. I think Tyrant might have had some use in Resonator decks had Scarlet not come, just because a big nuke is always very tempting and almost game-willingly strong every time it arrives. But I don't really know if this is going to see play at all. And if I'm looking to make a Dark Dragon Synchro level 10, I don't really know why I wouldn't just make Bane instead. They have the same stats. They both don't have any protection. Tyrant has a second effect I'm going to read eventually. Sorry, I just got lost in my thoughts. But Tyrant's protection really isn't a protection at all. It's easy to work around, much like its offensive effect. So I don't know why you just wouldn't make Bane, because Bane is easier to get into, theoretically requires less resources, and yeah. So let's just end that thought train right now and jump on to the next effect. So during either player's battle phase, when a spell or trap card is activated, you can negate the activation. And if you do, destroy that card. And if you do, this card gains 500 attack. So this sounds really great again, much like the first effect, but then when you think about how duels usually progress, their opponent's going to read Tyrant, Red Dragon, Archfiend, and if their only interaction is back row, one, they're going to use that back row because they're going to be afraid of you just nuking it. And if you're going to try and hold the nuke to get to the battle phase so you can negate it, your opponent's just going to go end of main phase, activate Book of Moon, and then there's nothing you can do about it. So it's the same problem, just expressed in a different way as the first effect there. So yeah, that's Tyrant. Really wish this would have came out earlier. I think given how easy it is to interact with this monster, I think it would have been acceptable to come to Duel Links much, much easier. The effect is great when you get to pull it off, but if you're able to pull it off, either one, your opponent didn't read your cards, doesn't know what they're doing, or didn't have any interaction anyways, so you're probably going to win. Either way, let's end this conversation about Tyrant on a high note. Fantastic artwork, incredible artwork, love it. Favorite artwork of all the Red Dragon Archfiends. So the next card that I kind of want to talk about is Shooting Riser Dragon. This card is theoretically really good. It has a lot of potential to be good, just because it's a quick effect synchro and it can Foolish Burial something and modulate its level. Those three effects are all really, really good. In addition to that, it's a tuner synchro monster, so there's all kinds of avenues of play that open up because of that. I don't think we have any good targets for the Foolish Burial effect, though. The only thing I could think of is maybe Tackle Crusader. But even then, Shooting Riser Dragon, you can't use the effects of the monster you Foolish the turn you send it. And I think Tackle Crusader is when this card is sent to the graveyard. So theoretically, you could make this in Resonators, specifically Roaring Soul Resonators, because you could send any fiend, send a level 3 Resonator to the graveyard, add Red Sprinter, normal Red Sprinter, special back the level 3 Resonator in graveyard, Synchro 7. Sprinter and the skill don't lock you specifically into Dark Dragon Synchros, so you can make generic Synchros. So you can get to Shooting Riser, but then I don't know what you do with it after that. Being a tuner monster actually is kind of detrimental to Shooting Riser, at least in Resonators at that point. So this is an interesting piece that I'm going to try and mess around with just to see if there are any cool interactions I can squeeze out of it, because it is theoretically makeable in Resonators. But I don't really think it's going to be all that good. I think there's better uses of our limited resources. So next card up, Red Rain! We're getting 3 copies. After some conversation and some back and forth with people about this card, I think it's fair at 3 copies. The activation requirement is strict enough that it offsets how incredibly powerful the effect is. I'm really excited to see this at 3 copies because that means you can change the math on your Roaring Soul Resonator builds pretty significantly. You don't have to rely on the Oovaloop 1 card or the 2 Fiend hands to get Red Rain. You can just play multiple copies and hope to open it occasionally. So the more you open it in Resonators going first, the more deadly it becomes because your opponent doesn't see which column or which spell and trap zone you set it in, so they don't know which one to snipe. Also, if you open it, plus open the Oovaloop or 2 Fiend combo, you can have double Red Rain. And also, having access to 3 copies also makes it a decent card to use as discard fodder for the activation of other cards or other effects. So you can just use cards effects, pay Red Rain as the discard cost, do your normal synchro plays, and along the way you're making Dark Dragon synchros, you recycle it from your graveyard back to your hand. So really cool and really interesting to see this at 3 copies. The effect is game-winningly strong if you get to pull it off. And I have some thoughts about how to use it in Resonators. I've been really thinking hard and working hard on trying to optimize a standard version of Roaring Soul Resonators. Because I think a lot of us who are here watching this video right now, when we play resonators, we want to play Resonator Red Dragon Archfiend. We don't really want to play the goofy build that capitalizes on all the weird idiosyncrasies that the skill has. I think a lot of us want to play it thematically, as long as, playing it thematically is actually good. But yeah, anyways, I've been working hard to try and figure out the optimal version of this, and I think having access to 3 Red Rain makes that significantly easier. Next card is Yazi. Yazi is a level 7 synchro monster, which means you can make it the same way you would make Shooting Riser Dragon. I don't necessarily know if that's worth doing in the new Roaring Soul Resonators build, because you only get 1 activation of your skill per duel. And one of the weaknesses of the Roaring Soul Resonators is that they're really bad at following up if their board gets broken. So I don't know if Yazi Pass is good enough to maintain a lead in the duel, so your follow-up is kind of insured or protected or good. Rose Dragons used Yazi to great effect because they could make Yazi, set a bunch of back row, and then follow up. We can make Yazi, we can theoretically set a bunch of back row, but the follow-up is significantly weaker with Roaring Soul Resonators. Either way, this is still an exciting card to see become accessible, and I like that it's super rare in a mini box. That makes it even more accessible. Also, very good card for rockets. If we ever get a level 3 rocket target, this is a good consideration for a turn 1 play for rockets. Another card I kind of glossed over, we'll skip over to get to Yazi, is Synchro Overtake. I think this card has some potential. I have to see what synchro monsters we have in the game at the moment that have a specifically named tuner requirement, because this card could be great for searching out some weird combo lines. I don't think it has any purpose at the moment for Resonator Red Dragon Archfiend, but still an interesting card to potentially play around with. I've been getting asked a lot about Falling Down and whether or not that's going to be good in Resonators, because we technically make Archfiend cards in our Red Dragon Archfiends, and I think it's funny, but I think there's cards that do Falling Down's job better. You have stuff like Crackdown, stuff like Enemy Controller, Mind Control. I think technically Brain Control is in the game too. You have these take control of your opponent's monster cards that are a little more flexible, a little more versatile, and require less setup. You have to control an Archfiend card for basically this thing to stay up and active. And in order to do that, you have to synchro climb into a Red Dragon Archfiend. Any monster you would want to take control of from your opponent, you would likely be able to remove with the Red Dragon Archfiend you're climbing into, or if it had some sort of effect that was detrimental to your ability to climb into a Red Dragon Archfiend, it would have already used it by the time you're getting to Red Dragon Archfiend. Sorry for smacking my mic. So I think it's funny, but I don't think it's useful enough or versatile enough. I think there are cards that just do its job better. Then I don't really care about Time Lords. They're there. The Sulfa Chords, I have real no history or experience with them, so I don't really care about them. Let's move on. Tri-Mids are getting their last card finally, maybe a little too late. Where's the last card that I wanted to talk about? Watt Kinetic Puppeteer. I think this card is funny. I think there's probably some funny stuff you can do with it, but I don't think it's good. I think that's it, everybody. I think that's all the stuff I wanted to talk about. Just scrolled through the mini box again, and there's not really much that's popping out to me. It's kind of cool to see Shooting Quasar Dragon come to the game, but I don't think it addresses any of the issues that Synchron Stardust has. I'm not familiar enough with the new Yusei skill yet to know if Quasar is actually going to become accessible, but the problems that Synchron Stardust have is getting off the ground. You need to have a level 2 engrave, and you need to have Junk Synchron in order to do anything. So I don't know if the skill fixes that at all. So we'll see. But one thing I do know is that there are some cool new pieces for Resonators, and I'm incredibly excited. I hope all of you are too. And I'm going to end this video now so I can go keep theory crafting decks and hopefully have something to present to all of you. As a side note, I'm thinking about doing a live deck building video, and I use live in quotations there because normally you would do that stuff kind of on stream and then clip the stream and upload it to YouTube. I don't really have the time to commit to streaming right now, so I think I would just be recording myself and talking out loud, kind of like I normally do, and just giving my thoughts and my thought processes while I'm trying to build and craft a resonator build. If that's something all of you would like to see, please let me know down in the comments. I'll probably put a post on the community page for anybody who's not sticking around to this part of the video. Either way, exciting stuff, everybody. I hope all of you are excited. I hope all of you are happy. Please let me know how happy and excited you are in the comments. Let's get excited together, and let's get to work. Let's see if we can build the best resonator build possible. Until next time, be safe, have fun, everybody.